Have you ever read an incredible book and got excited to find out that it would be adapted into a movie? Or perhaps you have watched a film based on a book and wondered if it was as good as the original work. Welcome to the Highlighted Pages channel. Today, we will explore the differences between book and film versions, the challenges filmmakers faced in adapting a literary work, and of course, discuss which version is the best. So, grab your popcorn and let's get started. Adapting a book for the cinema is a common practice in Hollywood and is often seen as a way to capitalize on the success of a book by leveraging the popularity of its story and audience. Throughout this video, you will see that movies often end up reaching a much larger audience and consequently achieve much greater success than the book itself. For example, the Lord of the Rings series grossed over $3 billion worldwide, and the Harry Potter series accumulated nearly $8 billion in global box office revenue. But is faithfulness to the original work the most important factor, or is it the director's interpretation that truly matters? Let's take a look at a list of major works that became big hits in the cinema. So, which one is better? The Curious Case of Benjamin Button by F. Scott Fitzgerald. We begin the list with this blockbuster success, The Curious Case of Benjamin Button. If you didn't already know, yes, this film was based on a literary work. Published in 1922 by one of the greatest American writers of the 20th century, F. Scott Fitzgerald, the work tells the story of Benjamin Button, a man who is born with an elderly body and starts growing younger as he ages. The story follows Benjamin's life from his birth in 1860 to his death in 1930, exploring how his unique condition affects his life and the people around him. In 2008, the book was adapted into a film by director David Fincher, starring Brad Pitt in the lead role. The film followed the general storyline of the book, but with some significant differences in plot and character portrayal. The film received 13 Oscar nominations and won 3, including Best Visual Effects. Brad Pitt's performance was also critically acclaimed, and the film was praised for its direction, cinematography, and soundtrack. However, the film also received criticism for its loose adaptation of the book and for deviating significantly from the original story. While the book is more of a social satire and a dark tale about mortality, the film is more of an epic love story with fantasy elements. Ultimately, the film grossed $333.9 million worldwide, becoming a global commercial success and earning 13 Oscar nominations, 3 of which it won. And the book continues to be a classic of 20th century American literature and an important work by author F. Scott Fitzgerald. Forrest Gump by Winston Groom. Another huge box office success, and one that few people know was an adaptation of a book, Forrest Gump. The novel was published in 1986 by Winston Groom and tells the story of Forrest Gump, a man with intellectual disabilities who lives an extraordinary life. The story is told through Forrest's memories, which include encounters with celebrities, his military career, his success as a football player, and his journey as a fisherman. In 1994, the book was adapted into a film by director Robert Zemeckis, starring Tom Hanks in the lead role. The film followed the general storyline of the book, but with some significant differences in plot and character portrayal. In the film, Forrest Gump is portrayed as a simple and kind-hearted man whose extraordinary life leads him to meet U.S. presidents, famous football players, and other celebrities. The story also focuses on his relationship with Jenny, a childhood friend who becomes his great love. The film was a major commercial and critical success, grossing over $677 million worldwide and winning 6 Oscars, including Best Picture, Best Director, and Best Actor for Tom Hanks. However, the film also received criticism for its simplistic portrayal of historical events and its idealization of American life. While the book is more satirical and cynical about American culture, the film is more sentimental and optimistic. In summary, Both the book and the film Forrest Gump explore the idea of how life can lead to unexpected and surprising paths, regardless of the physical or intellectual limitations a person may have. It's worth checking out both and drawing your own conclusion. The Twilight Saga by Stephenie Meyer. Known and beloved by young audiences, The Twilight Saga divides opinions, particularly when it comes to its adaptation to the big screen. Twilight is a series of 4 books written by Stephenie Meyer, published between 2005 and 2008. The books follow the story of Bella Swan, a teenager who falls in love with Edward Cullen, a vampire struggling to control his instincts. The story also features other supernatural characters, such as werewolves and vampires, who form a secret community in Forks, Washington. The book series was adapted into a series of 5 movies, released between 2008 and 2012. The films were directed by Catherine Hardwicke, Chris Weitz, David Slade, and Bill Condon, respectively, and starred Kristen Stewart as Bella Swan and Robert Pattinson as Edward Cullen. The film series was a massive commercial success, grossing over $3.3 billion worldwide. However, the series has also faced criticism for its simplistic portrayal of themes such as romance, sexuality, and interpersonal relationships. Furthermore, some critics have pointed out that the series perpetuates harmful stereotypes about men and women. The books, on the other hand, were both commercially successful and well received by critics for their ability to convey deeper romance, more authentic emotions, and an emotional appeal that captivates readers from beginning to end. Overall, the undeniable popularity of the story among primarily young audiences remains evident. Les Miserables by Victor Hugo. Les Miserables is a masterpiece of French literature written by Victor Hugo in 1862. The book tells the story of Jean Valjean, a man who spent 19 years in prison for stealing a loaf of bread to feed his family, and who, after his release, tries to redeem himself from his past and build a new life. The story addresses themes such as redemption, justice, love, sacrifice, and hope, and is considered one of the most important and influential works in world literature. The film adaptation of Les Miserables is the 2012 movie of the same name, directed by Tom Hooper and starring Hugh Jackman as Jean Valjean, Anne Hathaway as Fantini, Russell Crowe as Javert, and Amanda Seyfried as Cassette. The film was critically acclaimed and received numerous awards, including 3 Oscars, a Golden Globe, and a BAFTA. The 2012 film is notable for its innovative approach to the use of music. Unlike most film musicals, where the songs are pre-recorded and added to the footage later, the cast of Les Miserables recorded all their vocal performances live on the film set, which helped create a sense of authenticity and intimacy. The film's soundtrack is also noteworthy for including many of the most famous and emotionally powerful songs from the original stage production. The success at the box office earned approximately $441 million worldwide, making it a major box office hit. While the book is a literary masterpiece in its own right, the 2012 film captured the essence of the story and characters in an exciting and impressive way, offering a powerful and moving experience for both fans of the book and those discovering the story for the first time. The Shining by Stephen King. Who doesn't know Stanley Kubrick's classic film, The Shining? What few people know is that this tremendously successful film was an adaptation of the horror novel written in 1977 by none other than Stephen King. The story revolves around the Torrance family, who moved to the isolated Overlook Hotel in Colorado to serve as caretakers during the winter. Jack Torrance, the protagonist, is a struggling writer who hopes to use the hotel's tranquility to work on his new book. However, supernatural events begin to occur at the hotel, and Jack's mental health starts to deteriorate, leading to an explosive climax. The film adaptation of The Shining was released in 1980 and starred Jack Nicholson as Jack Torrance and Shelley Duvall as his wife Wendy. The film was acclaimed by critics and is considered one of the best adaptations of Stephen King's work for the cinema. One of the major differences between the book and the film is the way Kubrick portrays the character of Jack Torrance. In the book, Jack is a tragic and empathetic character who is struggling with his own sanity. However, in the film, Nicholson portrays Jack as a clearly disturbed man from the start, and his transformation into a killer is much more sudden and surprising. The film is remembered for its iconic imagery, including the snow maze and the twins in the hotel hallway. The soundtrack is also notable for its repeated use of the Dies Irae theme, a classical funeral song that contributes to the film's sense of horror and suspense. Both the book and the film of The Shining are considered classics of the horror genre. While Kubrick's adaptation took significant creative liberties with the book, the film is still seen as a remarkable achievement in the art of cinema and is widely regarded as a classic. The Exorcist by William Peter Blatty, one of the most iconic and controversial horror films in history, was a literary adaptation. The Exorcist is a horror novel written by William Peter Blatty and published in 1971. The book tells the story of a 12-year-old girl named Regan McNeil who is possessed by a demon, and her mother seeks the help of two priests to perform an exorcism on her. In 1973, the book was adapted into a film directed by William Friedkin and starring Ellen Burstyn, Max von Sydow, and Linda Blair. The film was a huge box office success, grossing over $441 million worldwide and becoming one of the most popular horror films of all time. Additionally, the film received 10 Oscar nominations, including Best Picture, and won 2 awards for Best Adapted Screenplay and Best Sound Mixing. The book, on the other hand, was well received by critics and became a bestseller, being considered a modern classic in the horror genre. Blatty won the Academy Award for Best Adapted Screenplay for The Exorcist in 1974, and the book also won several literary awards. The story of The Exorcist continues to be one of the most well-known and chilling in popular culture. If you enjoy horror, it is worth checking out both works. The Chronicles of Narnia by C.S. Lewis. One of the greatest fantasy series ever published to this day, The Chronicles of Narnia didn't quite achieve the same success in the cinemas. The series of 7 books written by C.S. Lewis between 1949 and 1954 follows the adventures of a group of children who are transported to the magical world of Narnia, where they face dangers, encounter mythical creatures, and engage in epic battles. The series was adapted for the big screen in 3 films produced by Disney, released between 2005 and 2010, grossing over $1.5 billion worldwide. Despite the impressive box office numbers, the films received mixed reviews from critics. Some praised their faithfulness to the books and the quality of the visual effects, while others criticized the lack of depth in the characters and the simplification of the story to appeal to a younger audience. However, it is undeniable that the film series helped further popularize the world of Narnia and brought new fans to the book series. The Godfather by Mario Puzo. While some films didn't achieve the expected success, The Godfather surpassed all expectations and is still considered one of the greatest trilogies in cinema. Written in 1969 by Mario Puzo, the book tells the story of the Corleone family, a powerful Italian mafia family in the United States, led by Vito Corleone, a respected and feared patriarch. The adaptation of the book into the film managed to retain the essence of the original work and create a cinematic masterpiece, becoming a timeless classic and one of the best examples of successful book-to-film adaptations. Adapted for the screen in 1972 by Francis Ford Coppola, the film starred Marlon Brando, Al Pacino, and James Caan, and won a total of 3 Oscars, including Best Picture, Best Actor for Marlon Brando, and Best Adapted Screenplay for Coppola and Puzo. The success of the film led to 2 sequels, The Godfather, Part 2, and The Godfather, Part 3, both directed by Coppola and based on elements from Puzo's books. In addition to its box office success, The Godfather is widely regarded as one of the greatest films of all time and one of the most successful adaptations of a book into a film. The complex and well-crafted story of the book was skillfully adapted into the film's screenplay, maintaining the essence of the original work while adding unique cinematic nuances. So, do you prefer the book or the cinema classic? The Da Vinci Code by Dan Brown. Here we have one of the greatest literary successes of the 2000s. Written by Dan Brown, the book The Da Vinci Code was published in 2003 and quickly became a bestseller, with over 80 million copies sold worldwide. The plot revolves around symbology professor Robert Langdon, who is summoned to Paris to investigate the murder of the curator of the Louvre Museum. With the help of cryptographer Sophie Neveu, they uncover a series of clues hidden in the museum's artworks that lead to a conspiracy involving the Catholic Church and the true story of Mary Magdalene. The film adaptation of the book was released in 2006, directed by Ron Howard and starring Tom Hanks as Robert Langdon. The film grossed over $750 million worldwide and was nominated for 5 Academy Awards, including Best Picture. However, the adaptation also generated controversies, especially among religious groups, who accused the book and the film of being anti-Catholic. Some critics also pointed out the lack of faithfulness to the book as a weak point of the film, with significant changes in the plot and characterization of the characters. Nevertheless, it is a very well-produced film that lives up to its achieved success. It is worth checking out the work. The Fault in Our Stars by John Green. With over 25 million copies sold worldwide and translated into more than 50 languages, the novel written by John Green undoubtedly has its place secured on the shelf of great success. Published in 2012, the book tells the story of Hazel Grace Lancaster, a teenager with cancer who falls in love with Augustus Waters, a boy she meets in a support group for cancer patients. The narrative is told in the first person by Hazel and showcases her perspective on life, death, and love. The book addresses themes such as terminal illness, the finitude of life, and how each person deals with their limitations and dreams. The story was adapted for the screen in 2014, directed by Josh Boone, and starring Shailene Woodley and Ansel Elgort as Hazel and Augustus, respectively. Just like in the book, the film emotionally portrays the relationship between the two characters, with Shailene Woodley and Ansel Elgort delivering sensitive and captivating performances, bringing to life the characters created by John Green. The film was well received by both audiences and critics, grossing over $307 million worldwide, far exceeding its production budget of $12 million. For its faithfulness to the book and its ability to convey the story's touching and poignant message on screen, the film was also nominated for several awards, including the Golden Globe for Best Original Song for Not About Angels by Birdie. The Great Gatsby by F. Scott Fitzgerald. One of the greatest successes of the 1920s also received a film adaptation. The book, The Great Gatsby, written by F. Scott Fitzgerald and published in 1925, is set in Jazz-Age New York and revolves around Jay Gatsby, a wealthy and mysterious man who throws lavish parties at his mansion on Long Island. The story is narrated by Nick Carraway, a young stockbroker who becomes friends with Gatsby and begins to uncover his past and motivations. The book is considered a social critique of the decay of the American dream during the Jazz Age, depicting the shallowness and corruption of the upper class. Fitzgerald also explores themes of unrequited love, ambition, illusion, wealth, power, and the search for meaning in life. The adaptation came in 2013, directed by Baz Luhrmann and starring Leonardo DiCaprio as Jay Gatsby. The film was a box office success, grossing over $350 million worldwide. However, opinions on the quality of the adaptation are divided, with some critics praising the art direction and soundtrack, while others criticize the lack of subtlety regarding the book's social critiques. What cannot be denied is the excellence in the colorful and vibrant cinematography, as well as the production and fashion design of the time, including the extravagant costumes and grandiose settings that recreated the Jazz Age. Which work do you prefer? The book or the film? The Hunger Games by Suzanne Collins. The Hunger Games is a series of science fiction and dystopian novels written by Suzanne Collins between 2008 and 2010, comprising 3 volumes: The Hunger Games, Catching Fire, and Mockingjay. The story takes place in a dystopian future where the nation of Panem, formed from the ruins of the United States, annually holds an event called the Hunger Games, where young people aged 12 to 18 are selected to fight to the death in a televised arena as punishment for a past rebellion. Throughout the story, we follow Katniss on her journey of survival in the arena, facing not only the other participants, but also the traps prepared by the organizers. The first book tackles themes such as violence, politics, power, and media manipulation, and became an instant success, selling over 23 million copies worldwide in its first 3 years alone. The series was adapted into films, with the first movie released in 2012, directed by Gary Ross and starring Jennifer Lawrence, Josh Hutcherson, and Liam Hemsworth. The film received positive reviews and grossed over $694 million worldwide, becoming the 13th highest-grossing film of 2012. The book and film series continues to be praised for its social critique as well as the strong and complex portrayal of its protagonist, Katniss Everdeen. The franchise has become a cultural phenomenon and remains a topic of discussion as one of the best book-to-film adaptations. Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen. One of the greatest classics of all time in English literature, had its own film adaptation in 2005. Pride and Prejudice is an acclaimed novel written by Jane Austen and first published in 1813. The story is set in 19th century England and follows the life of the protagonist, Elizabeth Bennet, a smart and independent young woman, and her relationship with the wealthy and arrogant Mr. Darcy. The book is a social critique of English society at the time, particularly the social conventions that restricted women's freedom. Austen uses humor and irony to expose the hypocrisies and prejudices of the upper class while presenting strong and complex characters who challenge these conventions. In 2003, the book was ranked second in a BBC poll to find the 100 greatest British novels of all time. The book has been adapted into film and television multiple times, but the most famous adaptation is the 2005 film directed by Joe Wright and starring Keira Knightley and Matthew Macfadyen. The film received 4 Oscar nominations, including Best Actress for Keira Knightley and Best Original Score, and won the Academy Award for Best Costume Design. With a worldwide box office gross of over $121 million, the film was praised for its faithfulness to the book and its visual elegance. The chemistry between the actors is also a standout, as well as Judi Dench's impeccable performance as Lady Catherine de Bourgh. Harry Potter by J.K. Rowling. Speaking of great adaptations, we couldn't leave out the tremendous success of the Harry Potter series. Written between 1997 and 2007 by British author J.K. Rowling, the 7-book series follows the story of the young wizard Harry Potter, who discovers that he is a wizard and that his parents were killed by the villain, Lord Voldemort. Harry is taken to Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry, where he learns to control his powers and makes loyal friends like Ron Weasley and Hermione Granger. Together, they face challenges, adventures, and dangers to defeat Voldemort and save the magical world. Each book in the series focuses on one school year of Harry's at Hogwarts, encompassing themes of friendship, love, loss, courage, and determination. The narrative is rich in detail and characters, and Rowling created a complete and fascinating magical world with a background story steeped in mythology and magic. The books have sold over 500 million copies worldwide and have been translated into more than 80 languages. They have received critical acclaim and are considered landmarks in children's and young adult literature. The films, produced by Warner Bros. Pictures, were released between 2001 and 2011. As everyone knows, they were enormous box office successes worldwide. The 8 films in the franchise grossed over $7.7 billion at the worldwide box office, making it the second highest-grossing film franchise of all time. The films are known for their faithfulness to the books, maintaining many of the elements and details from the original story. They are also notable for their stellar cast, with actors like Daniel Radcliffe, Emma Watson, Rupert Grint, Maggie Smith, Alan Rickman, and many others in key roles. Furthermore, the films collectively received 12 Oscar nominations, winning a total of 3 statues. The film, Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban, won the Academy Award for Best Visual Effects in 2005. The film, Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows, Part 2, won 2 Oscars in 2012, one of them in the category of Best Art Direction. The Lord of the Rings by J.R.R. Tolkien, the greatest trilogy in the history of cinema, and for many, in literary history as well. Written by the legendary J.R.R. Tolkien between 1937 and 1949, and originally published between 1954 and 1955, The Lord of the Rings is a fantasy trilogy that captivated the world. The story takes place in Middle-earth, a fictional world created by the author, and follows the journey of the hobbit Frodo Baggins to destroy the powerful ring created by the evil Sauron to rule over all of Middle-earth. In addition to Frodo, other important characters in the trilogy include the wizard Gandalf, the elf Legolas, the dwarf Gimli, and the men Aragorn and Boromir. The trilogy is known for its complex mythology and the vast universe created by Tolkien, with a multitude of creatures, races, and languages invented by the author, making it the most influential work in the genre. The book has been translated into over 40 languages and has sold more than 150 million copies worldwide. The film adaptation of the trilogy, directed by Peter Jackson, was released in 3 parts between 2001 and 2003. The films were produced by New Line Cinema and received critical and audience acclaim, grossing a total of over $2.9 billion at the worldwide box office. Furthermore, the series received a total of 17 Academy Award nominations, with the most impressive being the final film of the trilogy, which received 11 nominations and won all of them in 2003, including Best Picture, Best Director, Best Adapted Screenplay, and Best Visual Effects. The film also won 4 Golden Globe Awards, including Best Motion Picture, Drama, and Best Director. Peter Jackson was praised for his ability to remain faithful to Tolkien's books, as well as his stunning visual representation of Middle-earth's fantasy world. Howard Shore's soundtrack was also widely praised, with the unforgettable themes from the trilogy becoming iconic in popular culture. So now that we've explored various book-to-film adaptations, what do you think? Which one is your favorite? It's important to remember that the adaptation of a book into a film should not be seen as a competition to determine which is better, but rather as an opportunity to appreciate different forms of art and storytelling. Leave your opinion in the comments below. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to give it a like and share it with your friends. And if you want to see more content like this, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you don't miss any new videos. Thank you for watching, and see you in the next video.